Hey, it's Jack. Okay, Jack in the attic. One day, several months ago, I logged into Ravelry.com. I checked out the recently added section, and what did I see? Collars everywhere for some reason. You'll love to see it. So for months, I've been planning this video, and now I'm finally making it. I have featured several collars in my goth knitting videos, but there are so many more. I feel like it's finally time to give them their own video. Again, months later than intended. It's also scrappy summer, stash busting summer, whatever you feel like doing. Date of recording, it's not actually summer yet, and it probably won't be when it's posted, but it sure feels like summer. Ooh. Anyway, scraps and stash busting. These are kind of the perfect small, low yardage projects to eat up extra bits of yarn that you've been hanging on to for some reason. I'm not the only one, I know. And they're also great for those special single skeins that you pick up somewhere and don't know what to do with. So I am considering this part of my single skein series, even though it's not as specific as single skein of sock yarn like the other videos are. So in spirit, this video is part of that series. For the purposes of this video, I'm kind of including any neck accessory that isn't a scarf or bandana or shawl, kind of. I'm talking about detachable collars or things that are slightly too decorative to be cowls. The theme is decorative, but not necessarily non-functional. I have over 20 for each category, knitting and crochet. I think I'll do crochet patterns first because I've really been prioritizing knitting on my channel for so long. So crochet, you go first today. And let's get right into it. You're not going to hear me pronounce anything because I'll pronounce it wrong. So everything will be on the screen as well as in the description with links. And I'm not going to spend too long on each one because we have so many to get through. Now I'm down here. Okay, first I should mention that the one I'm wearing I did actually freehand. That is why it is a little too roughly, but you can just do that. I think once you make one, you kind of understand the process, and you can just do that. You'll probably do a better job than I did, but I really like this one. So first on our actual list is one that I tested many years ago. In fact, here's a picture of me from the listing. I couldn't find this one on Ravelry, so I did link the Etsy listing. And this was a really quick make. It's multiple solid granny squares and a couple of triangles connected and trimmed with cute lace. This one is a quick little granny stitch collar, and I love the idea of using multiple colors. I think the sample knit being, not knit, crochet, I think the sample piece being made in maybe mohair or something similar, something light and fuzzy, makes it look a little elevated. I know filet crochet is having a moment, and deservedly so in my opinion. This is just so cool with the moon and sun design, and this designer has another filet crochet collar as well. This one, the moon phases, it looks so cool. This might actually be what convinces me to finally try filet crochet. And I love that the edge is kind of scalloped to match the design. This one, it's fun, it's cute. The Kermit Collar is exactly what it sounds like. The description also mentions sizing for dogs. Please make this for your dog. That's all I want to see now. Granny pentagons. I knew they existed, I guess, in theory, but I've never made one before. I think this is a great application of the granny pentagon, turning the basic granny stitch into something more complex and interesting. This is another granny stitch pattern. This one has flowers in the center and slightly different shaping. I also really like the scalloped edge on this one. Okay, this particular designer, who I have also tested for in the past, is well known for a variety of collars. They're more similar to a necklace in design than like a detachable collar for a top, but I am absolutely not mad about it, and they still count. Let's see a couple other designs from this creator. I think this is one of the most popular designs they offer. I see why, and I love it. If you've never crocheted a doily, for example, or anything with lots of intricate looking repeats, it is easier than it looks, and it's so worth it. This is obviously not a doily. I'm not comparing it to a doily in anything other than parts of the process are similar. Fancy circles. Here's a third one, but something different from the same designer. I love when these collars button closed. I should have put a button on mine. And I love that this one comes with matching cuffs. Here's a totally different vibe. I usually don't share a ton of strictly novelty makes, but this one's just fun, and I could not include it. And the options for multiple colors, I think, would be great for scrap usage. Okay, so there's nothing on this list that isn't a statement piece, but this is for sure a statement piece. However, it looks like it wouldn't be too complicated. And again, I love that it buttons in the front. Oh, and it's free. Okay, it's cute. I love it. It's got to go on the list. It's cute. I love it. The bow in the back makes it instantly so Sailor Moon, and I'm sure that was the point. You could make these in a bunch of different colors for all of the Sailor Scouts. Side note, as a child, a young child, I'm talking like kindergarten, first grade, I wanted to be Sailor Moon so bad. My poor mother sewed from scratch an entire Sailor Moon first grade Halloween costume for me, and even made a wig from scratch out of yarn. And then I fell and I skinned my knee in the first half hour of trick-or-treating, and I had to go home because I was crying. Shout out to my mother. Okay, moving on. Cowl is in the name, and this is definitely more on the functional side, but I'm counting this as a collar because it fulfills the purpose of being a lacy decorative thing to wear around your neck. It has buttons. It's cute. I want it immediately, even though it's 90 degrees. You know. The construction of this one is so interesting. It's like shells inside of petals. It is a free pattern, and I'm considering downloading it just to see exactly how this is made. You could too. This is such a classic vintage detachable collar. I know I saw things exactly like this when I worked at an antique store. First job, by the way, if that explains any or everything about me. Super lacy and detailed, but it's a lot of repeated elements, so it shouldn't be too difficult to actually make. This is another warm one. I've seen this one around, and I have just been waiting for a reason to make it. I love everything about it. I should have come up with more to say about it so I could keep it on the screen longer. I love it that much. But when I look at it, my brain just stops. It's so pretty. I just like it so much. That's my review. This one I accidentally miscategorized as knit when I was making this list. Something about the density of the stitches had me slightly confused from a distance. That's not a bad thing. The ribbed kind of chevron design looks sleek without being too minimal. And this one's free too. This is yet another designer I have tested for. It's a roughly clown collar, but I think it's subtle enough to incorporate into non-clown looks. However, nothing but respect for my clown core pals. Okay, this one's huge. The sample photos on Ravelry even show it being worn as a belt overskirt type thing. And worn as a collar, it can kind of even cover your shoulders. All or part of your shoulders. It's made of bulky yarn, so I'm sure it works up super fast. This one has scarf in the name, but I really don't think I have to defend my choice when we're looking at a decorative little neck thing. That's what it's all about. It's cute, it's lacy, and it's written for any gauge, which I love. This is another one that's just so classic. It's exactly what I think of when I hear crochet collar. I'm actually kind of comforted by the fact that this designer mostly writes patterns for snowflake and angel Christmas ornaments. It fits the vibe. and someone who makes snowflake and angel Christmas ornaments knows Aunt Lydia's crochet thread for sure, so you know this pattern's good. This is the last crochet collar on our list, and it's a super interesting one. It's on the larger size, it's very intricate looking, and it's made of several hexagons attached to each other with a lacy border. Looking at the rest of this list, this has elements from several of the patterns, but it's still so completely different looking from the others in a good way. It is interesting to go through a list of things in the same category and see how much they do have in common, similar elements repeated, and even then, everything looks completely different. Moving on to knitting patterns, there are a few that I've already shared in other pattern compilations, so I'll talk about those first in case you've already heard about them and want to skip ahead. We're starting strong here because what's not to love about this collar? I'm a total sucker for a spiderweb design. You may already know this. It's kind of a classic collar design, but also not at all. This is an all-over lace collar with a ruffle at the bottom and a side buttoning detail, which of course I love. It's so intricate, and I remain a huge fan of this item after having it in my Ravelry favorites for probably 2 years at this point. This one, I love that this has a repeated lace pattern and multiple closure options. Don't tell anyone, but it's a rectangle that you button together. And yet it looks so cool. You can use all of the buttons for more of a cowl look or leave some undone to create like a traditional collar with the points. This collar is huge and it's ruffled, but the light and airy yarn choice makes it feel not too heavy. It's honestly, it's perfect. No notes. I love when something, okay, one note. I love when something is like simple but dramatic at the same time, and this really does it. This really works for me. This pattern is inspired by Elizabethan ruffs, of course. The long ties are a little scarf-like, but I still think it belongs here. It's ruffly, it's decorative, it fits the vibe. Speaking of vibe, this has a similar vibe, but less pronounced ruffles. I think there are options for how much ruffle you want. I think this pattern and the last one would be friends, you know? This one has also been in my favorites for a while, and it's written for any gauge, so I really have no excuse not to knit it at this point. This is a classic detachable collar shape, but it's so intricately detailed. Thankfully, the lace design is both written out and charted, so you're covered no matter your preference. A similar vibe to the curtsy collar from earlier. Someone count how many times I say vibe in this video, let me know in the comments. Similar vibe to the curtsy collar, but smaller and with denser stitches for a more solid look. This is another one that's been in my favorites for far too long. It looks like a classic. Great news, the designer of the Crochet Kermit Collar also wrote a knit version, and I swear it's for people too. But I couldn't pass up my first opportunity to show a dog model in one of these pattern compilations. Once again, if you make it for your dog, I want to see it. I want to see it so badly. Please. Sorry, I'm normal. This collar is not only an interesting shape, but also features interesting constructions. It's knit side to side in garter stitch, and I'm pretty sure we don't have anything else like that on the list, side to side or a garter stitch. There are so many. I don't know that I can keep track like that. But still, I think at the very least I can say garter stitch might be underrated in this category, underrepresented. So I think this one's super cool. I could say so much about this one. I feel like I don't have to. The Ravelry description describes this as a decorative sculptural knit, and they are not wrong. It's spiderwebby, it's rib cagey, it's sick. It's named after every spider in the designer's house. They all have the same name. Love that. This is a bold knit. I respect it. This is more on the functional side, but the design is still so cool. This is worked flat in pieces and then attached together, which gives it a cool geometric and structural feel. It's still a collar. And the complete opposite of structural and functional, this one is pure whimsy. It's one big ruffle with multiple sizes and styling options. I particularly love this idea of wearing it like a little shrug. How fun is that? This is another classic collar shape, but so interestingly textured. The description specifically says it's designed to add texture and warmth without bulk, which makes perfect sense. This is another classic collar shape from the same designer as the previous collar, but this has a cute little lace detail and a cord laced through the top instead of just attached at the corners. I think that looks really neat. And I put these two next to each other for a reason. They're technically so similar, but the vibes, count it, are different. Side note, is this called the Appleseed Stitch or did I make that up? I don't think I made that up. This has the traditional tie and no bottom border. I think the simplicity looks really refined and classic. We're back to this designer. I love this one. I think the shape is interesting and I love that it folds over. Unfortunately, I can't find any pictures of it being worn and I would love to see how people style this one. I think this is our first cabled collar on the list. This is a definite statement piece with eyelets and cables and a big bow in the front. It's somehow structured and drapey at the same time. Very cool. This one is so cool. I can't tell if the design looks more like leaves or petals or something architectural. Also, this designer is the yarn dyer behind Muse 2320. Hello, I have used your yarn. We haven't seen a ton of colors that have the ties laced through the top. I think that's a neat detail. Okay, so this is maybe my least defensible pattern on the list. It's very clearly a functional accessory for warmth, but I think it looks cool. At the end of the day, isn't that what really matters? I love the texture of this. And it's knit with 2 strands of Aran weight yarn held together, so I know it works up so fast. Easy Knit Studio is all over this list. Huge contributor to the collar category. That was hard to say. This is our last pattern for today, and I had to make sure we ended with a fun one. This is that. Everything about this one is fun. The description says it's inspired by leaves, pine cones, and natural forest textures, which I love. I feel like we read through those in record time, actually. Maybe there was more time for my Sailor Moon Halloween costume story. It's too late now. Don't ask me how one makes a wig out of yarn. I don't actually know. So, that's the list. Let me know, did you come away with any new favorites? Have you knit or crocheted a collar before? Let me know if there are any patterns you're super into that I didn't include. There were tons. There are also a lot of vintage patterns for collars that I excluded entirely. If you're into vintage patterns, this category is full of them. That's going to be all for today. So again, feel free to tell me if I missed one of your favorites or if you have a new favorite, but don't forget to rest and stretch and take breaks. But as always, go and live your best yarny life, and I will see you next time.